Hello, I'm sorry, ladies. I've not been very savvy on the old technology this morning, and I apologise. So if you have any questions at all, if you are live, then please just stop, interrupt me, and I'm happy to answer them. And then if you are doing this on a playback, then feel free to just message me with any questions that you have. Also, thank you so much for your patience last week, because obviously COVID still messing things up. What, 18 months later? So great, that was great. So thank you very much for your patience with that. So I am in a teeny tiny space, so I'm going to do my best. I'm going to have to move the screen a little bit up and down, I think, to make sure you can see me. But we are kind of getting more into the exercise side of things now, so less kind of slow and easy and core focus. There's obviously going to be some core exercises involved, but less of that, and more getting involved in some hip hinges, some deadlifty type movements, and some push-ups. Okay, so I've had some questions about push-ups. I'm going to do lots of variations of those over the next week, and then the 2 sessions that I send you as well. So first of all, we're going to start seated with because you guys have got babies on your knees as well. So I'm going to take a seat. And just, if you've got a spare hand, place a hand either onto the side of your rib cage, onto your belly. And just as you inhale, feel those expand nice and gently. A little bit of an inhale into your belly, a little bit of an inhale into the sides and the back of your rib cage. And if you can see yourself in a mirror or the screen, just have a look at what your shoulders are doing. So ideally, we don't want to be lifting up into our shoulders as we breathe. We want to be breathing into our rib cage and into our abdomen slightly. On the inhale, your pelvic floor should relax down. And then as you exhale, you're going to lift through your pelvic floor and pull those core muscles in nice and tight. And inhale. And exhale. Lift that pelvic floor. See if you can really hold on to it. And then inhale, let it go. And exhale. Okay, we're going to take a little bit of a lean forward wherever you're sat. Inhale, exhale. Does that feel different? This is taking it slightly more into the front of your pelvic floor. That might feel stronger, it might feel weaker. Couple of inhales and exhales here. And then take it slightly back. This is obviously taking it into the back of your pelvic floor. This might feel stronger, it might feel slightly weaker, depending on you, your body, your pregnancy. And then back to center. I'm going to do same again, side to side. So I'm going to lean over to one side. Inhale, exhale, lift. And again, inhale, relax. Exhale, lift. And then taking it over to the side. Inhale, relax. Exhale, lift. You've got it on mute, so don't be afraid to give me a really big exhale. Doesn't need to be powerful. Imagine you're blowing out through a straw. And if you felt a difference in the sides as well, that might be down to some SPD, pelvic girdle pain you might have experienced in pregnancy or still are. Sometimes that'll tell you whether you have a little bit more of a weaker, I hate saying weakness, but an imbalance in strength between the 2 sides of your pelvis and the pelvic floor on those sides. Also, sometimes the pelvis, the angle that the pelvis is now sat in will just change obviously the angle of those muscles, and that will change how strong those muscles can be, whether they're in their most efficient position or not. So bear that in mind when you're exercising, and I'll kind of come back to that again. Okay, so we're going to use a bit of an opening to our chest to start with. I'm going to keep you seated for now because obviously you've got babies. So we're going to open up into the chest and then rounding through. And opening up. Obviously, you can do this one-handed if you have babes on your knee. And so this can be quite entertaining for them as well. And exhale. Okay, I'm going to come up onto feet if you're able to. I'm going to come all the way over here so you can actually see me. Okay, so from here, we're going to do the same sort of chest opening stretch. You're going to place your hand on a wall or a door frame, and the foot that is nearest to the wall is going to take a step forward, and you're just going to turn into that step. So first of all, that's going to feel a stretch right into your chest here. If you're breastfeeding, this might be particularly needed, but to be honest, tired, feeding in the middle of the night, just kind of hunched over. I need this really bad right now. And you're going to just take your eye gaze over and following that around. So you're going to feel that stretch a little bit further into that arm. And then release it off. And we're going to do the same on the other side. So placing the hand, step that foot nearest to the wall in front, and then twist your shoulder, twist your torso away from the wall. And then taking that eye gaze around as well. And then relax it off. So we're going to do a little bit of movement into a push-up today, which is why I'm really warming up into the chest, but also thoracic mobility kind of goes a little bit after a pregnancy posture. So we're going to do what's called a bow and arrow. You're going to start with both arms out in front. In fact, I'll come down onto my knees because you can do this seated, kneeling, standing, whatever you want. Okay, and we're just going to bring one arm back, taking your eye gaze all the way around with it. And then bring it forward. I'm going to do the same on the other side. So really pulling that elbow backwards. Eye gaze is going with it. And then back to front. Once more on each side. If you want to open up that arm even further, then go for it. And same on the other side. Or just keep it to the elbow, pulling back. And then bring back to front. Those are really nice to do on a daily basis, really, to increase a little bit of movement into your shoulders. Okay, we're going to grab our resistance band. Again, you can do these standing, seated, up onto a high knee is quite a nice way to do it. Equally standing as well. Bear in mind, if you're on your knees or standing up, we want to keep those ribs pulling down towards the pelvis, and we want to bring that pelvis underneath, okay? But at the same time, we don't want those glutes to be doing too much here. All that action needs to be coming from those hip stabilizers on the inside. So bringing that posture nice and tall. Arms are coming out in front. And you're going to do a nice big inhale in this position. And as you exhale, you're going to just pull the band apart. Doesn't matter how much tension you've got onto it. You might want to have this a bit harder. You might want to make it really nice and easy for yourself. But you should feel as you exhale, all these muscles pulling inwards. So the exhale is lifting the pelvic floor, it's pushing air out of your lungs, it's bringing those abs all the way in. Hold it, and then inhale to release. And then go again. Thinking about that posture, you might need to tip that pubic bone under. Keeping those ribs pulled down towards your pelvis. It's almost like tucking them back in rather than letting them flare out. And bring it back in. And again. And once more. Depending on how your core is kind of firing, how it's connected back together, these might feel quite challenging. Personally, I still find them quite challenging. And obviously you can change the amount of resistance that is on that band to make them a little bit more challenging. I still use these in my training and I ate it nearly 10 months now. Okay, we are going to go back to standing if you're not already there. This time, if you want to hold on to baby, they just provide a little bit of balance, a little bit more weight. We are going to do some balance exercises, so just obviously be careful, you're not going to topple. You're more than welcome to hold on to something, but obviously balance is part of fitness as well. So grounding down through your feet, I'm going to take your weight over to one foot slightly. I'm just going to, if you've got, this is me holding my baby, you're just going to lift at the knee and lower, okay? And we want to make sure that, obviously some of the work's coming from your hip flexors, but we want the work to be coming from our core, okay? So tip that pubic bone under, pull those ribs down and make sure they're in an optimal position to fire. And just keep lifting and lowering. If you need to bend your standing knee a tiny bit, that might help you balance. Or, as I said, you're more than welcome to hold on to something, just don't cling onto it. Lift and lower, just with one leg at the moment. Really have a feel of what that posture is doing. So does it want to flare out in any way? And then swap those over. So grounding back down, shifting the weight over to the other side and lift and lower. Obviously you can do these holding on to babies. And again, does it feel different on each side? Personally, I feel that this side challenges my core more than the other side. Does that mean, is that kind of impacted by the way I hold my baby perhaps, or the way that I pick up things and do things? Nothing we do in life is even-sided anyway, so don't panic if there are differences in one side to the other. It's just kind of interesting to know. And once more on this side. And lower that down. Okay, have a little bit of a wiggle into your hips if you're feeling it in there. Okay, so we're going to go into some shoulder taps. This is where I want you to be really mindful of where your challenge is, where your limitations, that's the word, where your limitations are at the moment. So a kneeling plank type position might feel a little bit too much for you at the moment. I'm just going to pull this over because this is going to be my prop for today. So instead, you might want to go into a bit more of an inclined kneeling. If a kneeling one's feeling a little bit too easy, then obviously you can take it into a full plank, or you can take it into a full plank on an incline. You can vary the height of that incline to find something that feels challenging for you. When I say challenging, I mean possibly you can feel a tiny little bit of doming, but with a big exhale through the straw, you can feel that flatten out. Okay, so that means you're able to manage that pressure. From there, going to make sure we've got our shoulders stacked over your wrists. If you're going onto your knees, drop those hips into the space in between, so that is putting that weight into the front of your body, to the upper body. And I'm just going to take a nice big inhale with arms down, and exhale, we're going to tap one shoulder and then the other. Okay, I'm just going to go from side to side. If you've got knees together, this might mean that you're kind of tipping from side to side a little bit. This all depends on stability in your hips. Keep it going, by the way, I'm just chatting. If you want to take your knees a little bit wider, that might stabilize you. If you're on your feet, taking your feet a little bit wider might stabilize you. And then try to time that exhale with the load and the movement and see if that does anything. Equally, if the exhale's not adding to it in any way, then don't worry about the breathing too much. It's not as important as it sounds, but it is quite useful in getting everything working back together. So keep those going. We've got 10 more seconds of these shoulder taps. 5, 4, 3, 2, and release it off there. Okay, so bearing in mind, have a little think about how that felt. Did you feel strong? Has it challenged you a little bit more than you thought it would? It's all about you guys finding out where you are. But I do really want you to let me know as well how you're finding these. Obviously, if we were face to face, I'd get a little bit more feedback. So at the end, or like in a message, just let me know how it felt really. Okay, so we're going back up onto feet and do some more hip stability work, starting to look at the deadlift and the hip hinge move. Hip hinging is so important because it is basically sticking your bum out behind you and getting those glutes working and getting those hamstrings working. To start with, we're going to do a single leg deadlift. So we're going to, again, ground through the center of your feet. Shift the weight over to one foot. And we're going to just take that one foot out behind. Now, you might find that this is really difficult to balance. Okay, so just like I did. So we're either going to take arms out in front or arm down towards the floor and then all the way back in. And you should feel that standing leg doing the work. It's pulling your body back in. If you find that you're off balance, you can obviously hold on to something as long as, again, you're not clinging onto it. Or you can just take it into a smaller movement, okay, and plop that foot back down in between. So it can be a smaller movement, or you can train it to be a bigger move. Those glutes, those hamstrings are having to do more work there. And as you pull it in, try to squeeze everything into a nice stacked posture at the end of it. And back. Balance is quite tricky here, especially if you're tired. Maybe think about grounding down through that foot. So your little toe, your big toe, and your heel, your tripod foot, all of those should be pressing down into the floor. Might need to bend your knee a little bit for balance. And then come up nice and tall. And we're going to swap to the other foot. So again, grounding down through both. Shift your weight over to one foot. And go for it. my body is finding this hard today. And these are really good hip stabilizers, strengthening around your hips and your pelvic floor. It's all part of the same thing. Keep these going. Bit off balance. And we'll go for 2 more. You should be feeling it into those glutes now if they're working hard. The slow moves sometimes are way harder than just blasting out all the fast ones. Okay, release it off. Again, have a bit of a wiggle into your hips if you need to. Okay, let me check my list. Okay, last little one of these, and then we're going to move on to a little bit of a circuit to finish. We're going to look at a Russian twist, so something you might get if you went to a fitness class. And also, again, if we do it super, super quickly, actually can be less efficient than if we're slowing it down. So take the weight a little bit more into your upper body. Oops, I've got to let somebody in. Take the weight into your upper body, nice and stacked and tall through the top of your head. Feet do not have to be off the floor. That might feel like too much pressure, and also it doesn't really make an awful lot of difference. We're just going to turn your torso from one side to the other. Okay, and just get yourself into that position to start with. Now, to make it a little bit more challenging, you can obviously lean back, but don't lean back and round into it. Lean back really nice, strong, straight upright posture still. And if you have a little look down, see if there's any doming going on in your belly. Now try adding an exhale through a straw. See if that makes a difference. We're still kind of testing it out, feeling our way through. And just keep rotating. If you've got baby, they do make quite a nice little bit of resistance here. So you can obviously tip them from side to side and entertain them very nicely. This is me and my baby. I really have to get a doll or something for this, don't I? And if you need to release it off, then go for it. If you're having any back pain while we're doing this, okay, I'm going to give you one more option. But if it is still exacerbating that, then please just kind of either take yourself a little bit more upright, place your feet further down onto the floor so they're really grounded. You can still do this movement and it's still working into your core and your torso, but I don't want you to put any more pressure onto your back. If it is feeling a little bit into your back, have a think about what your pelvis is doing. Does that pubic bone need to tuck under slightly? Do those ribs need to come down slightly so those muscles are really engaged into the core? We're going to go once more. Finding the level that you are feeling is working best for you today. Also, I'm going to add what's working best for you today might not work best for you last week. You might have had more sleep. This week you might not be getting any sleep, like me. And so things feel a bit harder. So progress isn't going to be linear. You're just going to have to go with what your body is telling you. Nice big exhales. And relax. Okay, have a little wiggle there, see how that felt. Think about making sure that we're not pressured, there's no pressure, not too much pressure coming out of that abdominal wall or feeling pressure down into that pelvic floor. If you are, please let me know because I can make some adjustments. Okay, so we're going to do a little bit of a circuit or a little bit of a superset. This is how I normally design my training sessions with my clients. We're going to start with a full deadlift using the resistance band, and then we're going to do a push-up, okay? We're going to superset those back to back. So we're going to do 15 deadlifts, we're going to do 15 push-ups, and don't panic, I'm going to talk you through it. We're going to do those twice, and then we'll have a bit of a break, and then we'll do another superset, and then you're free to go and get rid of me. Okay, so up onto feet. Resistance bands going under our feet. Keep your feet fairly wide, and depending on the resistance of them, because I haven't got the one that I gave you guys with me today, you're going to just cross that over, maybe wrap your hands up in it depending on the length of it. You ideally want to have hands fairly close together, okay? Our hip hinge, going to start standing, is going to look like you're pushing the car door closed with your bum. So you're going to stick your bum back, tiny little bend into your knees, and then come all the way back up, okay? Keeping that resistance band close to your feet, close to your shins, and then squeeze back up to the top. Okay, we're going to start counting here. That's 1. Please do these at your own pace, but fairly slow and controlled is the best way to go about it right now. That's 3, 4, squeeze at the top, push that bum back and squeeze. If you're feeling anything into your back right now, think about an exhale as we come up. That might help to strengthen through the core a little bit. Squeeze at the top. Very aware that you just have a view of me poking my bum at the camera and counting right now. This is 10. 5 more here. You might feel some stretch into the backs of your hamstrings. It might feel nice. Go within your limitations as always. 2 and squeeze, that's 1. Okay, release that band off for a sec. We're coming into our push-up. Same as when we talked about the shoulder taps. Go to the same place that you were doing those. So either kneeling or an incline of varying heights. We're going to do a negative push-up or an eccentric. Okay, so the focus is going to be on just sliding, just plowing, I was going to say. Letting your body come down towards the floor really slowly, and you're going to go all the way to the floor. You're going to relax when you get there. Don't really care how you get yourself back up. So reset, and we're going to go again. Slow, 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 all the way down to the floor, because these feel quite tricky. So I want you to really think about slow movement, controlling right into those triceps, right into that chest. We're going to go for 15 of those. So this is number 3. Add in an exhale if you want to, if that makes it feel nicer. Make sure that your wrists are stacked underneath your shoulders. If you want to take your feet off the floor, if you're doing kneeling, that might add a little bit more into it. Don't forget to keep your hips tipped forward. Really slow and controlled. Can you hear the cockerel? My neighbour's cockerel. I apologise if you can. Going to start to feel these in the backs of your arms and your triceps. Okay, my counting's terrible, but I think that's 10. 5 left. This is good. We're not doing this many next time. 3 to go. Feel that strength between your shoulder blades, pushing the floor away from you, and then letting it come to you slowly. Last one. And then release it off there. So hopefully you'll feel a little bit of burn into the backs of those arms. They are working hard for this, but they are strong too. You're carrying a baby around all the time. And then have a little bit of a breather. Okay, grab your resistance band. We are going to just do a few rotations here into your shoulders. So you can stay seated up onto your knees or standing for this. Take that resistance band in front of you. You're going to bring it up and behind your body. Up and over. I have so not got any space right now. And really bring it back and over. If your arms are feeling tired, you don't have to do this part at all. This is just a nice bit of mobility to put into the middle. Equally, if you are doing it and it feels hard, slacken off your resistance band, okay? It's not supposed to be an exercise, it's supposed to be a bit of mobility and active recovery. And release it off there. Grab a drink if you need to. We're going to go through that again. So we're going to do our hip hinge, our deadlift, and we're going to do our push-ups again. We're going to do a half set this time. So we're going to, well, slightly over. We're going to do 8 and 8, okay? So we're getting back up into our deadlift position. If you found that those were quite easy before, because chances are that they were, because we're just using a resistance band. You can start to add in your own weights if you want to. Take a nice big inhale at the bottom. I'm going to squeeze on the way up. I'm going to slow it down on the way down, if that was too easy. Hold at the bottom, and then squeeze on the way up. Okay, that might change the way this feels a little bit. That's 3. 4. 5. That cockerel is going for it. Squeeze. 6. 7. And 1 more. That is 8. Release that band off. Back into our push-up position. If it felt too much last time, take it up into an incline and keep yourself going. So stack wrists underneath your shoulders, drop those hips forward. If you are doing it on your knees, or you're doing a kneeling incline, and squeeze those glutes. Exhale as you slowly lower down to the floor. 2. 3, keep those going. 4. 5, only 3 to go. 6. 2 left. And last one. And release it down. Okay, grab a drink again if you need to. If you want to go into the active recovery with me, then please do. I'm going to go in front, just really opening up into that chest. And again, thinking about ribs not naturally flaring back out, but keeping that posture stacked on top of one another. And keep that mobility going. Quite a nice stretch into your upper back, chest, movement into your shoulder blades. And last one. Okay, we're going to do another superset. Again, we're going to do 15, 15, rest, 8, 8, rest. A little bit of a finisher to let those glutes burn before you go. And then you'll be done. So, okay, bear with me for my props. I've had to move furniture around. So we're going to do a hip thrust, okay. If you don't have anything to use, you can do this as a glute bridge on the floor. So a glute bridge is where you are lying down onto your back, feet are fairly close to your bum, and you're going to lift, squeeze at the top and lower. If you would like to pop your resistance band around, tie it up and pop it around just above your knees, that's going to add a little bit of resistance to the outside of those hips. Perfectly fine, you can do that. In fact, we're going to need it in a loop anyway shortly, so we might as well do it now. So that's another level you can add to it. Or if you want to have a go at a hip thrust, edge of the bed, edge of the chair, careful, edge of the sofa, really, really good for these. So you're going to just take yourself, so your shoulder blades are the top of whatever you're leaning against. So this chest of drawers, tiny one, my shoulder blades are resting on the top of it. And from there, I'm just going to lift my bum off the floor and find where your feet feel most comfortable. You're going to lower your bum down and then squeeze all the way up to the top. And that's it. If you want to add a resistance band onto your, just above your knees, that's going to add a little bit of extra resistance. If you want to put babies onto your lap, obviously that's adding a little bit of resistance to this. But this is all about your glutes doing a lot of work. Keep your eye gaze forward. Don't let your head go back. And either put your hands on your chest, hold on to baby, you know, do what you want with them. I'm going for 15. I'm going to call that my demo now we're starting. 1, lower and squeeze. 2. If you're doing these as a glute bridge on the floor, nothing is different. 3, 4, squeeze at the top. 5. Might want to add an exhale into the load. If you're feeling good, maybe even add a pelvic floor contraction in on that exhale. Over halfway, keep these going really nice and controlled. 4 to go. 3 left. And 1 more. Squeeze and lower. Okay, from there, grabbing your resistance band, come up to standing. I'm going to do it on high kneeling so you can see me better. You're going to place your hands inside the loop. So you might want to put the knot somewhere more comfortable. Hands are going to start here at your chest, your shoulders. I'm just going to we're going to maintain that rib to hip connection. So keeping that connection here. Then lift arms up and lower, pressing to the outsides of that band. Okay, you're going to start to feel this in the outside of your shoulders, but it's also challenging your core to stay in that position, keeping those ribs pulled down, stacking that posture back up on top of each other. That's 4, 5. We're going for 15 of these. If you're doing them in your own time, that's perfectly fine, okay? You don't have to do it all at the same time as me. 7. These really burn. 8. 9. Try not to let those elbows flare out. Try and keep those elbows tucked in. 4, 3, 2, 1, and release that off. I'm not going to give you, no, I am going to give you, I'm going to give you some active recovery. If you don't want to do it, you don't have to do it. Okay, so our active recovery is going to be holding onto the resistance band. Similarly, arms above head, but don't worry if there's a little bit of flaring here because that's not the point. I'm just going to let it all stretch over to one side and then slowly stretch over to the other. If you want to take this time to sort babies, grab a drink, have a breather, that is absolutely fine. These might be a nice stretch that you want to do at the end instead. It's a really nice way of just opening up into the sides of the ribs. And last one here. Okay, release that off. Okay, we're going to go once more. I'm going to do our hip thrust once more. We're going to do our shoulder press once more. And then super quick finisher, super quick stretch. And I'll let you guys go. So back into our hip thrust position or your glute bridge. Remember, shoulder blades are on the edge of whatever you're leaning against. Keeping your gaze looking forward, squeezing those glutes up to the top and lower. 2, 3, only 8 this time. 4, 5, 6, really squeeze those at the top, get those hips nice and high. 7, 8, lower that down, grab your resistance band. We're going into our shoulder press, standing or high kneeling. I'd recommend standing, to be honest, it's a bit easier. Okay, so tucking that pelvis under, bring those ribs down and off we go. 1, 2, 3, 4. Really pressing out with the backs of those hands, but not your elbows. Try and keep your hand and your forearm in line. I lost count, so we're going to do one more because I don't know where I was. That's 8. Okay, and then if you want to go back into the active recovery, just holding onto that band, let it stretch you over to one side. Take some nice big inhales. And over to the other side. Trying to stay nice and upright in that posture. Keep it all stacked on top of each other. After those push-ups, this might be quite a nice stretch right into your serratus under here. Okay, right, little finisher. I'm going to do a minute. I'm going to use my timer properly this time. We are going to, that's a calculator, mate, that's not going to work. We're going to do a glute bridge. Okay, you have a choice. I would say grab your resistance band because it's going to add a little bit. But also, if you want to raise your feet up onto something, go for it. I don't think I can really do it in this position without moving too much stuff around. If you want to raise your feet up, this is going to feel like a proper burner into your bum. Okay, we're going to just get into this position where you've got your feet fairly close to your bottom. I'm going to put my phone there so I can see it. Okay, all we're going to do is lift and pulse 2, 3, 4, 5, and lower. As you just touch your bum down to the floor, then you're going to lift back up. And when we get to 1 minute, we're going to hold for a little bit at the end. We're ready. 3, 2, 1, let's go. So we're going to pulse. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Touch down to the floor and back up. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Touch and back. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Really squeezing into those glutes. 2, 3, 4, 5. If you need to take a break, take a break. And join back in. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And lower. Lift. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Really feel the squeeze at the top. Almost there. 2, 3, 4, 5. And lower. Lift and squeeze. 3, 4, 5. Once more. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Hold. We're going to hold. We're going to hold. Keep it held. Squeeze, squeeze, squeeze. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Slowly release it down. Okay, release your band off. That was really naughty of me because postnatally, you should be getting up onto your side to put less pressure into your abs. Obviously, I did not do that. Okay, so we're going to have a little stretch because your glutes have done a lot of work today. So coming into seated position, you can do this on a chair if you want to. If you've got baby in your arms, and this is fine, you can still do this on a chair. You're going to just drop your knees down to one side and feel a bit of a stretch into your outsides of your hips. You might feel that your mobility here isn't great. I've started to sit on the floor with my kids like this to try and improve my mobility in my hips. And just going to bring those knees back up, let them drop down to the other side. And knees up, down to the other side. Let that heart rate come down. Take some nice big inhales. Drop down. Okay, and coming back to standing and chest stretch, the chest stretch that we did at the start, completely up to you. If you're seated with baby, it might be easy if you do just a nice little opener into both arms. Otherwise, placing one hand onto the wall, take that step forward, feel that stretch right into your chest and your armpits. And then take your head over the shoulder. And release it off. And the same on to the other side. So take that step forward, twist into it, let that stretch come into your shoulder. And then release it off. And hopefully your heart rate's come back down. You are feeling like you've done something nice and chilled and babies haven't kept you too frazzled. And I hope you have enjoyed that. And please let me know any questions. Let me know how it went, how you are feeling, and I will see you again.